Hello there, guys. Hope you all are doing great today. I just wanted to make a quick kind of shout out. I have a YouTube channel that I kind of want to sponsor on here, and that is my own. Well, no, not sponsor, just literally tell you guys. I've technically got my YouTube channel link in my streaming subscription on here, like where the details are. But I'm also gonna say what the name is. It's The Black Gay Sheep, which is the same name as here. So I have a YouTube channel where I've gone into a bit more detail with some of the things I want to talk about on here because I've had it longer. Although I want to get this I want to get this Twitch account on a similar status, but longer without any jump cuts. So, if you watched my video yesterday, you will know that I made a video talking about my different spooky and spiritual experience that I've had since I started studying or practicing witchcraft, and just the things that I've experienced even before that. A lot of it does sound outworldish, and I completely understand how to a lot of people that is like bullshit, but it's still what I've experienced. But I said that I was going to talk about specifically what I've dreamt of. I mentioned one dream that I dreamed about what happens after we die, and then I had another dream about my dead grandma, who at the time I didn't know what she looked like, because I think I was about 13, 14 when that happened. So I'm going to dive into it. Hope you're all having a good day, by the way. So I'm going to start with the what happens after we die dream. So I had this dream that was 4 days on repeat, but it was slightly different. But other than that, it was completely the same. And I think I had that dream because it was a message from the higher power, so I would remember it, because I have a really bad memory if things just happen quick and once, where because this was 4 days on the trot, I feel like it's so that it stays in my memory, because I've never been able to forget these dreams. Every detail I pretty much remember. So I feel like, so when I dreamed, when I had this dream, I dreamt that I was in this room, and when I first kind of enter the dream, I'm looking down at this see-through floor, and it looks like it's in space, and then there's the world that's kind of far down, and then I all of a sudden look up, and there's these people in front of me, beside me, and behind me that have different shapes, sizes, races, ages, but they all have no features. So they do have faces, but they don't have eyes, noses, lips, eyebrows, ears. It's just featureless heads and bodies. And I noticed that I was in a queue. So obviously I'm surprised, and I remember feeling surprised when it happened, and then all of a sudden I see something and hear someone behind me, because when this is happening I'm looking back, so then behind me is in front of me. So I turn back, and the stereotypical looking Jesus man was talking to me. And I remember being a bit like scared and confused because of religious trauma that I've had. And my immediate thing was like, oh shit, I don't like this. And then he spoke to me through his mind, I think, because he wasn't moving his lips, but yeah, I could hear him talking. And he was basically saying, do not be afraid of me. I am not what people conceive me to be. I love you for who you are. which was very warming to me. It was very like, because at that time, you know, I knew that like Catholics didn't like gay people, and I very much felt that pressure. So it was nice to hear from someone who was supposed to be the man himself. And he was basically going to explain everything that I was seeing. So there are these 5 lines, and I was in the 3rd line, and each of these 5 lines are people waiting for their next adventure, whether it's positive or negative. So the stereotypical Jesus man was, you know, like explaining that there's different lines for different reasons, and then all of a sudden he holds his hand up, and then this thermometer thing comes up, or at least I explain it as a thermometer because that's what it looked like to me. And there was these numbers from 1 to 100, and they were in 5 categories, just like in the line. And he was explaining that in the line of each one is where people end up in their next life. And he was explaining that like it's all to do with how you respected yourself, respected other people, and respected the planet. So he was saying that obviously lower down is how bad you've been, and higher up is how good you've been. So he was explaining that if you are 0 to 20, then that is basically kind of like the stereotype of hell, but not what's in the Bible. He was saying that whatever you did before you died to make someone feel sad, give people grief, hurt someone, you get that same feeling times 3 on a loop, and it's something that you can't escape from, so you'll be there forever. And he was saying that not a lot of people compared to the human race are like this. It's people that literally get off on being despicable people. So they are the rapists, they are the murderers, they are the psychopaths. People that are literally born or been heavily influenced as a kid to be this evil person. So they will go to what is the true version of hell, which is how many people they've influenced, they get that same feeling times 3 on an endless loop. And to me that made sense, because even before I knew what karma was, I 100% believed in karma. And then he moved on to the 4th tier, which was 21% to 40%. He was explaining that most people, the majority of the human race, are either the 4th tier or the 3rd tier. So the 4th tier is people that are good people, but they've just had a bad life and it makes them cynical. So say if you were born like an average human being who does want the best for people, but they've had a bad upbringing or a bad life, maybe they were poor and they spent the whole time on benefits and they had to look after so many kids, you know, that would drag someone down. But in doing that, it's made you a similar person to the lower ranking ones, but just not as bad. So you almost want the worst in people because of your upbringing. You treat people with the utmost disrespect, and you judge people when them people haven't done anything to you personally. So them people are number 4. So they are actually good people, but they've just had a bad upbringing or a bad circumstance that's made them cold, not nice people. So them people come back to Earth as earthbound spirits. So earthbound spirits are very similar to most of the spirits that is shown in horror films. Spirits that have died either a bad death. Sometimes these people can actually be good people as well. The Jesus guy was explaining that these people that are in the fourth tier can actually be good people that have been brought up a good way, and they do want the best of people, and they're not cynical. But then if they die suddenly, like maybe a car crash, a heart attack, but the heart attack was something about a lied motive, or if they've died, or if they've been struggling with cancer, that will make them fall into that, because they will be angry over that sudden death. So all of them people go back to Earth as earthbound spirits because they're pissed and they're angry and they feel like they shouldn't have got what they deserved. So the earthbound spirits are very much most of the spirits that you see in horror films. The one that can move things when you think that they're going to hurt you, but they won't actually hurt you most of the times. It's just so they can get your attention. The ones that corporalize themselves as not nice people to scare you. It's so that they can get in contact with you, so you can help them sort out kind of that they need to move on to a better place. So they are number 4. So then number 3 is basically when you are 41 to 60, and this is very similar to like the stereotype of hell from the Bible, but it's just not as exaggerated and it is different. This is like the stereotype of heaven. So the stereotype of heaven is that it's pearly gates, you get to see your loved ones that have passed on, and you live on the clouds, and it's all a happy place. And that is somewhat true, but it's just not, again, as fluffy. So what is true about the stereotype of heaven and what I was experiencing? So he was saying that you don't necessarily get to see the people that have died. He was explaining that you get to see your ancestors that have died, that you have actually not met. And they explain where you've come from. And they explain kind of maybe you're not who you thought you were when you were alive. So it's them people, but then also, just like in the true version of hell, every good feeling that you have given to someone, every good thing that you've done, that feeling that you've given someone else, you get that good feeling times 3 on a loop as well. And these are people in this category that generally want the best for people. They are good people. They look after themselves. They look after their family. They look after the planet to a certain extent. And yeah, they are nice people who are not fickle. And like the Jesus guy said, these are most people. And then number 4. So number 4 and number 5 are the most special ones, especially number 5. So number 5 is 61 to 80%. And these are spirits, very similar to earthbound spirits, but they actually come back as muses. So muses are spirits that have the power to whisper positive thoughts in your head whenever you feel a lack of motivation to do creativity or do some kind of activity. I felt it many times when obviously I want to do something creative and I tell myself I can't do it, then all of a sudden I get that buzz of actually I can do it. And that is because a muse is talking to me and talking to everyone, whispering positive words in our head. But because they are the spiritual realm and we are the physical realm, our bodies can't hear it, and audio wise hear it, but our spirits can hear it, and that is that feeling that you get. So muses are people who have made a conscious effort to make humanitarian good, whether that is through volunteering with literally no interest in seeking validation from volunteering. Like, there are people out there who are quite fake. They'll volunteer to gloat about it. These people generally love to volunteer and give themselves. Or there can be people who wanted to be doctors, nurses, activists that are like level-headed and not these modern ones that are like actually doing worse for society. Just people that have either made it their hobby or their life goal or their job to make humanity and make the world better, and they actually do, and it's not something to gloat about for them. They actually feel it. So then people are in the 61 to 80%. And the reason, because they are muses, is because they're doing the same thing that they were doing when they were alive, but just in spirit form. But instead of physically doing it themselves, they're inspiring us to do the same thing. So this one is very rare. The Jesus guy was explaining to me. He was saying that like he said, about 99% of the people that are in this group are actually people that have been in a circle, going in the same way and going in for the same reason, and just that 1% is new. Who was explaining that Martin Luther King was one of these people, and I can very much believe that he is. So these people, very similar to the second sector, are people that are humanitarians, but they're even more humanitarians than the fourth one, to the point when they've actually made history books or made history to do with their humanitarian. So whether it's to do with race, gender, sexuality, freedom of speech, people that have changed the world for the better, or at least changed the world for the better at the time, then people will be reincarnated, so they'll start life again. So they'll be reborn into a new skin and a new body, but their soul will be the same, and they'll have that same ambition, and they'll do a similar thing. It might be a different topic, but it's always about making the world or the planet better. So that is what the first dream I dreamt about. I think I'm going to mention my second dream in another video that I've done. Yeah, I feel like that would probably be better, because again, I feel like this would go quite long, especially compared to what I'm used to on YouTube. Also, so one thing that I mentioned about these 4 dreams that I had back to back, and I said that they were almost exactly alike. The only thing that was different was each time the person that was explaining this thing to me was different people. So the first one was the stereotypical Jesus man, so pale skin, beard, long brown hair, had a robe. The second person was this hippie guy. So he looked quite similar to Jesus, but he just had dreads. I don't think he had facial hair. He wore more colourful clothes. And then this third night was what I would call a stereotypical gothic witch. So this guy had very pale skin. He had blue eyes, he had long flowing black hair, and he had black clothes, and I just remember being very drawn to that. And then the fourth night was this tree that was glowing when it was talking to me in my mind, and I just remember it was a very life infused tree, and it had roots that was waving, quite similar to what the gothic guy's hair was like, but instead of hair it was roots. So obviously I understand that to a lot of people that watch this, or to anyone that watches this, it might go by, they'll be like, you know, you're a nutter. And like I say, that it's fine. Everyone has the right to agree or disagree. But it's still what I've experienced. I believe it happened fully because it happened to me 4 times. So I think I'm going to end the video here because it's probably been like 20 odd minutes, and with the second story it probably would have been another 20 odd minutes. So I'm going to do a part 1 and a part 2. So I'm going to rename this part 1 and then part 2 will be tomorrow. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I just want to say, love yourself, love your mind, love your body, love what got you here, love the environment, love your opinions, and peace out, man.